Ashi. I also play in HOTT MT.
We're part of this collective in Los Angeles called Non Plus Ultra. Before we had Non Plus, we had a place called Nod, which was a warehouse that we and some friends lived in, and we all played music, and it was very cheap in LA for rent. It's really hard to get by as an artist in Los Angeles, and this place was just like a paradise where we could just practice and record all the time and throw shows. And within the last 10 years, LA has just been gentrifying like all the other places around America, and our warehouse got bought from under us and we had to get kicked out. And we were actually at South by Southwest, and we came back, the warehouse was locked, so we could not go back inside.
Yeah, all our stuff was gone, and we were out, we were looking for another space for another 6 months. We were just living in our car and spending the night on friends' couches. And our second album, Alternate Universe, we wanted to take that experience and turn it into something. So it was a really hard time, but we kept putting together these little tracks and things and building upon it. And even though we didn't really have firm ground to stand on, we were able to use this creation to get us through the next day, And that whole album, Alternate Universe, is our trials through that. And
it's a survival capsule.
Yeah, it's like a survival time capsule of us. And every song is very much about an emotional state and about the things that we were working through emotionally. And I don't know, if we didn't have that, if we weren't doing that, I'm not sure what would have happened to us, because that was really hard.
I guess for this album in particular, it's based loosely on this never-ending story. The book itself it was written by Michael End, and his father was really good friends with Rudolf Steiner, who started the anthropocracy movement and Waldorf schools. And this book was kind of like the Narnia for that movement, and it's really profound. And the main character, along the path of the story, actually loses memory of himself, and with each wish that is fulfilled that he makes, he forgets a part of himself. So I forget where I was going with that, actually. Sorry, you haven't read it.
I think that story, to tie it back with what you were asking, it's almost like that depth and that pain is something that character Bastian in the story realizes that he can't avoid unless he loses himself completely, and just which is a bad thing. He does need those feelings, that he needs his own sadness and he needs his own shortcomings to
without it you aren't you,
be a person. And he comes to a point where he realizes, I don't know who I am, but I've wished myself into this great person. But he has a good friend in the book who shows him hey, you're not going to be able to go back to your world. You're going to kind of be in oblivion here. And so I don't know, that it's kind of a roundabout way to say the depth is important, because I think it's something that everybody goes through. It's a thing that is very human, and to ignore it and to try and bypass it by just making yourself as great as you can be is very dangerous. And creation and making is a way to balance that, in the sense that you're externalizing these very intense things that are a part of being human without completely losing yourself in them.
Wow. Are there any inspirations that colored your view at this point in your life? Are there any philosophers? I heard Joseph Campbell as one.
Yeah, Ellen Watts.
Ellen Watts. Anyone else?
We love all the like psychedelic philosophers like Terence McKenna and Robert Anton Wilson, and Alan Watts introduced me to Zen Buddhism and that idea of life. But Carl Jung. Joseph Campbell is probably the tip top, because I feel like
he's very relatable.
He's really good in his expression to people, because he's taking these ideas that are kind of esoteric but making them really enjoyable, and I think that's great.
If you want to be terrified, you could listen to Bill Cooper. That's who we listen to. That's where we got the Hour of the Time name from.
Yeah, but we both read a lot, and like that's how we met. We met in a classics program, and I think the stories that we grew up reading shaped a lot of this, like what we do, and that is, I think that reading is a passive form of creation, because you are consuming something and you're making your own ideas about it, and it's almost like by reading we created this.
Wow.
In a way. And just theosophy, I think he talked a little bit about that, the idea that you are creating your own identity and you are creating your relationship to the universe and to God, and experiencing that. So, The Never-Ending Story is a fantastic book. If you can read German, read it in German. It's translated.
I have a copy of it.
The translation is fine. It really picks up after where the first movie did a really good job at describing the first half of the book, but the second half of the book is absolutely it's terrifying, and it's like kind of what we were talking about. It's what this album is based on.
Sure.
He goes into the book, like you're saying. He realizes he's writing it, but he then gets a chance to go into the book. But he realizes he can make his own reality by making these wishes, and he starts to make himself great, but he doesn't realize the cost, which is he's losing his former identity in the real world. So,
was there a Never-Ending Story 2, the movie?
There was. It was really bad. There's a 2,
it was an American
there's a 3,
production.
and there's a 3.
The first one was German. It was really good, but the second one was like Hollywood.
It's bad.
So it had nothing to do with the actual
It's based off of it loosely, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't do it justice at all.
Okay.
But
You really got to read it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
It's an easy
Note
read.
to self.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, what is your message to your fans, to people out there who are currently in pain about choosing self-expression?
Well, first I'd say you're not alone. You're never alone. I mean, you're alone. If you are alone, everybody is alone, you know? And second of all, help me out, Spooky.
Make it. Make your world. Make it fantastic. And it can be as simple as just having a little corner in your room where you have a light that you really like and a book like The Never-Ending Story or something that just brings you to a place where you feel okay, and like just start there and like maybe use that as a jumping board for some new ideas and write some stuff. I don't know, just start with like a little corner that's just for you.
And something that I always used to say to my dad when I was a kid, that he still comments on, like, because he's dealt with depression all his life too, and I would always go up to him and be like, "It's okay, Dad. It's okay." And I guess I would just want to be like, you know, it's okay. It's okay. Like, feel however you're feeling, because that's fine.
Bye.